The first time I did it, like 10 years ago, the sort of press, particularly the industry press in America, was like, why is he saying these awful things to the most beautiful people? You know? And then by the 5th time, right, they were going, good, give it to him, we're sick of celebrities.
There's a claim circulating right now that the Epstein files reveal Ellen DeGeneres as, and I'm quoting this directly from the Post's, Hollywood's most prolific cannibal, that she consumed human flesh.
Guess what? Pizza's here. Hello. Come on down. I lied. We weren't going backstage.
Ellen DeGeneres is named in the Epstein documents, and that part is real. Her name appears in the broader index of over 300 high-profile individuals that show up across the investigative materials.
Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't himself. Just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
That phrase was spoken on live television in a room full of the most influential individuals in Hollywood, and not a single person laughed, glowing.
Shining a light on something they don't want shine.
He spent years repeating it. Hollywood labeled him insane. They blacklisted him twice. They informed every studio in town, if you touch this item, you're finished.
Hollywood handing that person, here you go, you can do whatever you want. No, it doesn't work that in the industry. We've come to a very, very dark place.
A very, very gloomy location. That's the guy who portrayed Jesus on TV telling you what's truly occurring behind the curtain. And while he was being chastised for uttering it, when Ricky Gervais was firing warning shots from the Golden Globe stage, one of the most powerful ladies in daytime television was quietly creating an empire on the words, "Be nice." Then the Department of Justice released 3.5 million pages of Epstein records. Her name was within. And now every caution Kavy and Jerry ever given struck different. However, no one is making the connection here. Let's start with the room, because before we get to Ellen, before we get to the papers, before we get to the pals she had who are now sitting in federal jail, you need to comprehend the room. Every January, Hollywood gathers for the Golden Globes. The greatest performers, the wealthiest producers, the studio chiefs who determine whose career survives and whose career dies. They gather at rounds, they sip champagne, they laugh at themselves a bit, just enough to seem modest for the cameras. That's the show. That's the performance. And for years, the producers of that program kept bringing one particular individual back to present it. A British comedian who didn't care about getting invited to their gatherings. A guy who had no career to lose by giving them the truth stated.
Not only are we not furious, most of us, we don't care, we wouldn't have even known about it if you hadn't have found it and printed it and told us we're furious. So it's just this vicious cycle. But no, I don't care. And likewise, I know people are allowed to be offended by things I've said. That's up to them. That's the good thing about freedom of speech. I can say what I want. You can say you're offended. I can care or not.
Are 200 million people at home? That was his audience. Not the superstars, not the producers, not the publicists biting their lips in the front row. The folks watching at home who had no clue what was truly going on in Hollywood. The people who had never been invited to the parties. The ones who had never signed the agreements. The people who had never witnessed what occurred after the camera stopped rolling. And Jerry went that stage year after year. And he offered those 200 million people a small crack in the wall, a little peek of what the individuals in that room truly were. If you go back, watch that moment, watch the room, watch the cameras cut away, see the producers stop eating, watch the actors freeze in their chairs, because it wasn't a joke. That was a name. That was a flight. And every single person in the room knew precisely which aircraft he was talking about.
Didn't go out there and break the law. It wasn't mental. Everything was justified. I researched those jokes. I made sure it was fair. I wouldn't say anything to go, well, that's not fair. He didn't do that. I'd go, only tell the truth. I didn't out anyone. I didn't do anything it was not in public. I didn't do anything that was something they couldn't help. It was about their behaviors.
I know he's your buddy. He didn't mention a name. He didn't have to, because every influential person in the room had been on a list, in a logbook, at a dinner, at a party, and they all knew who else had been there, and they all knew who they were protecting. That's why nobody laughed. You don't chuckle at a warning shot. You sit extremely motionless, and you pray the next bullet doesn't have your name on it. Now meet the second guy who attempted to warn us. Jim Caviezel. Jim Caviezel is not some random dude on YouTube.
He's not a podcaster.
He's not a conspiratorial influencer. He is the guy Mel Gibson personally picked to portray Jesus Christ in The Passion of the Christ, a film that earned $612 million worldwide and remains one of the highest-grossing independent films ever filmed. After that, Jim had everything. He had the fame, he had the respect, he had the future, and then he made a move that ruined his Hollywood career overnight. He signed onto a film called Sound of Freedom, a film about a genuine former federal agent named Tim Ballard who resigned his profession to go rescue children from trafficking networks in Latin America. While they were shooting on site, Jim stepped straight up to the crew and asked them point blank what type of children they wanted. That's when he grasped what he was truly dealing with.
Night, he's asking about the movie, and I asked him about that one particular part where everybody's talking, and they all cried out Epstein Island. And I went, oh, okay. Now I understand what we're up against.
Wow.
Epstein Island isn't the only...
You would think every studio in Hollywood would be lined up to fund a film about protecting children from trafficking. You would think this would be the simplest sale of all time. That is not what occurred. The opposite occurred. Every major studio was cautioned to steer clear from it. Don't manufacture it. Don't finance it.
Don't disseminate it.
Don't even be pictured near it.
From Rupert Murdoch, from Fox, to every studio. Look, if you touch this thing, you will be out, you will be done. You'll be finished in 3.
Stop and think about what he just stated. He stated, the most powerful media operator in the English-speaking world supposedly sent out a command that anybody who touched a movie on rescuing children from trafficking would be annihilated within 3 years. That's the claim. That's what he claims occurred. The answer from Hollywood wasn't to deny it. The answer from Hollywood was to laugh at him, to brand him a conspiracy theorist, to put him on a list, and discreetly make sure his phone stopped ringing. The picture came out regardless, without a single big studio backing it, created on a quarter of a regular Hollywood budget. Yet, it rad in $251 million at the box office. The crowd showed up, the industry didn't. And Jim Caviezel continued talking. Because when Caviezel was being humiliated for saying it, and while Jerry was being booked once and never asked back for saying it, somebody else in Hollywood was at the very zenith of her power. She had a midday program that millions of Americans watched every single afternoon. She had a brand based on the term kind. She had 3 guilty men in her closest circle, and she was ready to go. Ellen DeGeneres, be kind. You couldn't watch 5 minutes of her program without hearing it. It was on the merch. It was on the intro. It was in every interview. It was the brand. The full personality. America's midday darling. The lady who danced into your living room every afternoon and encouraged people to simply be a little kinder to each other. Then in 2020, 36 former workers went to BuzzFeed, and what they described was not nice. What they described was the reverse of kind. One of them was Ha Muscat, not a junior assistant, not an intern, a genuine producer who worked with Ellen for years.
Feeling the heat as more employees, past and present, from her show say that they were working in a toxic environment. Some Hollywood actors also speaking out against the talk show host now.
Toxic, phony, hypocrite, liar. That's what she is. Those are her exact comments on camera. Poisonous, false, hypocrite, liar. And she wasn't the only one. Former employee after former employee came out describing a culture of dread behind the scenes of the sweetest program on television. Walked on eggshells. That's the afternoon program that advised America to be nice. Warner Media started a complete inquiry. 3 executive producers were sacked. The complaints included unwanted touching, ethnic discrimination, and a culture of terror that had supposedly been going on for years. In September of 2020, Ellen sat down on her own program and addressed it for the first time on television.
The truth is, I am that person that you see on TV. I am also a lot of other things. Sometimes I get sad, I get mad, I get anxious, I get frustrated, I get impatient, and I am working on all of...
A work in progress, a complete apology that never truly mentioned what she was sorry for. And previous workers did not buy it. One of them mentioned it on the record. She's known about this for 17 years. We were all scared of her. She was not nice. The Ellen DeGeneres show concluded in May of 2022. 19 years gone. And comedian Cat Williams emphasized publicly what a lot of people within the industry were saying quietly, that enterprises earning that type of money do not simply stop. Something horrible had to happen behind the scenes. Something nobody was talking about on camera. The show ended, and then 2 months later things became much, much darker. 2 months after Ellen's program ended, her ex-girlfriend, Anne Heche, was dead. 4 months after that, her DJ and executive producer Steven Twitch boss was dead. 2. Both deaths formally ruled. Both families departed with questions that to this day have never been completely addressed. Let's start with Anne. Anne Heche and Ellen DeGeneres dated openly from 1997 until 2000. At the time, it was one of the most talked about celebrity romances in America. Anne stated in interviews following that the connection affected her career, that doors began shutting the moment she went public. On August 5th of 2022, Anne's automobile was recorded on tape blasting through a residential area in Los Angeles at unusually high speed. It smashed into a home. The home caught fire. The automobile caught fire. Everything caught fire. She was retrieved from the wreckage with serious burns and smoke inhalation, and then a tape appeared that the internet has never been able to forget.
Ellen was far from nice. We're out there for years. What was your reaction to the toxic workplace controversy?
I felt that it was in the hands of the people who needed to speak their truth. I hadn't spoken to Ellen in years, and I feel that the stories that need to be listened to are being told.
Did the stuff about her being emotionally abusive to her staff ring true to you?
Emotionally abusive is a container for our actions that we've not healed. And unfortunately, the abusive environment was something that I understood.